Benvenuto! Welcome to Cherry Hill Home Cooking. My name is Mark. Today we're going to be making Boxty. Okay, what is Boxty? Well, Boxty is a traditional Irish potato pancake. I haven't made this in years. Last week I was looking at some stuff to do for St. Patrick's Day, and I ran across this recipe in my collection of recipes. This is my aunt Ginny's recipe, my great aunt Ginny's recipe, and I can remember going to church on Sunday morning, and my grandmother and I sometimes would go, with her, and then we'd go back to her house, and she would make a big breakfast for everybody. And this was kind of one of my favorite things of the breakfast that she made. So anyway, it's really simple. I'm going to stick to a very traditional recipe. Or at least her recipe. I think this is a pretty traditional recipe. And a couple things. It's a great way to use up some leftover mashed potatoes. I do have my scratch-made mashed potatoes, but I would venture that you could actually make this with instant mashed potatoes and it would be just as good. I happen to love using instant mashed potatoes, and I like them. But anyway, anytime you've got some leftover mashed potatoes, this is a great way to use them up. Okay, so again, this is Irish potato pancakes. Now, typically you eat this at breakfast. You certainly could have it as a side for any type of meat or vegetable dish that you've prepared. We typically had it for breakfast with some type of breakfast meat and eggs. Okay, so what are we going to need? We need a cup of mashed potatoes, cold, room temperature. You don't want them to be hot, so if you've just made them, let them cool down. All right, we're going to need 1 cup of grated raw potato. Okay, of course, this is a peeled raw potato. I'm using russet. You could use russet. You could use Yukon, yellow Yukon potatoes. She always used russet. That's what her recipe calls for. So I'm going to use russet potatoes. Okay, so we're going to grate these in a little bit, but let's just finish going over our ingredients. So then we're going to need about 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. We need 1 large egg. And again, I'm keeping this traditional, so I'm just going to do salt and pepper. Now, you can make this your own. You can add any type of dry herb. If you want to spice it up a little bit, do some cayenne pepper. If you want to add some scallions, you certainly could do that. Or if you're going to do dried herbs, something like thyme or rosemary. But keep in mind, if you're using dry herbs, go light on them the first time you make it. Kind of adjust the flavor because dried herbs can very quickly take over the whole dish. We're also going to need some baking soda. The baking soda is going to make them nice and light and fluffy, as is the buttermilk. So we need a cup of buttermilk. The buttermilk is going to help the baking soda react. And I did say we need an egg, right? Right? Okay. And then also you need some oil and a little bit of butter to fry them in. Now, as far as the buttermilk is concerned, you could use milk if you don't have buttermilk. If you wanted to have that tang that the buttermilk adds to it, I think the ratio is 1 teaspoon of white vinegar to a cup of milk. Combine those, stir it a little bit, set it aside for 5 minutes or so, and you'll have buttermilk. Not 100% necessary. Like I said, this is her recipe, the traditional recipe that she always used, so I'm going to do it just like hers. All right, believe it or not, I think that's our ingredients. This is going to go together really quick. Let's get cooking. Okay, that's about a cup of grated potatoes. So we're going to take a big bowl. We're going to put our grated potatoes, and I use the large grate on there. So let's put our potatoes in there. And we can get our mashed potatoes. Throw them in your bowl. All right, so you kind of want to combine these together. Now, some people, or I should say on other recipes I've seen, people strain or, squeeze the potatoes out. She never did that, and it wasn't in her recipe, so I'm not going to, they would put the potatoes in it, the grated potatoes in a tea towel and, squeeze out the water. She didn't do it that way, so I'm not going to do it that way. But you could certainly do that. It's possible that her recipe, which calls for a cup and a half of flour, adds a little bit more dryness to the potatoes. Maybe that's why I shouldn't dry them out. But anyway, so we've kind of mixed that to combine it a bit. We've got our baking powder, our salt, and our pepper. I'm going to put that in. And I'm just going to give that a little stir. And we got our egg. Let's get that in the bowl and lightly beat that. Doesn't have to be too, at least break the yolk, get it combined somewhat. Okay. We are going to start to heat up our pan. So I'm going to put my pan on medium-high, or I should say medium, start to get that hot. All right, so we got our potatoes in there. Let's get our flour and our egg in the bowl. Now at this point, this is where if you were going to add some additional spices or seasoning, you'd add it in at this point. You get that pretty well combined. It's going to start to form a really thick, pasty type. All right, then we want to start to slowly add in our buttermilk. I'm going to get a smaller spoon. Sorry about that. It's a bit clumsy in there. So you might, like I said, we're going to start with about a cup of buttermilk. You might end up needing a little bit more.
This isn't good to mix this with a mixer, with a dough hook?
You know, she didn't do it that way. Okay. I suppose you could. It would probably be easier. But I think you don't want to start to break up too much of your raw egg, or your raw potato, because you do want that to have crisp up a little bit. It'll give you a little bit of consistency. I'm going to pick this bowl up because I cannot. There we go. You can see our batter is starting to loosen up. Get in there. And you want this to be a thick batter, at least for this particular recipe. As I said, as I started to look at these last week, I saw some recipes where it was a really thin batter. But from her recipe and from making them with them, this is how I remember it. So there you go. Let's get this all nicely combined. That is just about where I want it. All right, now I'm going to set this aside for about 5 minutes. Just kind of let everything get all mixed up, get that baking powder working. All right, so we're going to put that aside for about 5 minutes. We've got our pan heating up. I'm going to clean up this mess, and we'll come back and get them in the frying pan. Okay, so we got our batter waiting. We're going to take a little bit of, I'm using extra virgin olive oil today. You can use whatever type of oil you like. So you want to put a little bit in. And we're going to get a little pat of butter. Throw that in. And let's get it all nice and frothy and melted. Now, because of the size of the pan, I'm just going to do one at a time so that we're able to flip it nice. And kind of spread it out. And that's going to take about 5 minutes. Again, anytime we're frying something that we wanted a nice golden brown, we want to leave it alone. Don't play with it. Let it do its thing. It's probably going to take 3, 4, 5 minutes. We'll be back when it's ready to turn it over. All right, we've been just about 4 minutes. Looks like it's ready to turn for me. Let's get our spatula underneath and flip. There we go. Golden brown and delicious. All right, it's going to take about another 3, 4 minutes, 5 minutes on that side. And we'll come back and put the next one in. Okay, so again, we've been just about 4 minutes. I'm going to flip it over. Golden brown and delicious, guys. All right, I'm going to move this over to our plate. Now, of course, if I was making a big batch of this, I have my oven set to 195 degrees. I would stick them in the oven, each one in between time. I think we got enough oil in it. Just need maybe a tad little bit more butter for some flavor. And we'll do one more. All right, so again, that's going to take about 4 minutes. See you in 4 minutes. Okay, so again, we've been just about 4 minutes. Let's get our spatula underneath it. There we go. All right, so again, that's going to take about 4 minutes on that side as well. I'm going to finish these up, and tonight we're having breakfast for supper. So when we come back, we'll sit down and enjoy our breakfast for supper. Okay, we're ready to eat our breakfast for supper. With our Boxties, we're having some cheesy scrambled eggs and some sausages. So let's give our potato pancakes. They look just like I remember, because I haven't made these in a long time. I think this is probably the first time I've ever made them for Wade. Now you go first.
It's yours. Who said yours would eat?
Come on up.
Bon appetit.
Bon appetit. Bon appetit. Petit. I don't know how you say it in Italian.
That's very good.
Well, that's just a very kind of traditional way.
Yeah.
It almost has the consistency of a pancake.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
It's light and fluffy. You can put a dollop of sour cream on here if you wanted. Maybe if you want to sweeten it up a little bit, you could add a little bit of, put a dollop of applesauce on there. But Like I said, I just wanted to keep it traditional because I was following a recipe. Of course, it's also really good with a fried egg.
That's delicious.
My eggs are delicious.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's a nice change from a hash browns or fried potatoes or something. So
Yeah, right.
very good. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed watching us make this as much as we enjoyed making the video for you. We'd love to do a cook along one of these days. Maybe one of these days we'll do a live shoot.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, that's all I got to say.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And check out cherryhillhomecooking.com. And we'll see you at the next video.
Ciao.
Bye. Yeah.
Some tough one from pancake syrup. Put it on there.
I think the ones.
That was a lot of being a little too high, but. All right, guys, you'll see we've got one flipped. It's golden brown. I'm going to flip this one. Wade just stepped back. Oop, of course that is not going to work. All right. You might as well stop, hun, because we're going to have to do the other one.